All right, hello there, everybody. This is Eric and Alice from Artistic Off-Road, and we just drove 10 hours to come to one of our favorite spots in the entire world, which is the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument in Utah. We're going to spend a few days camping and exploring, so come along with us for the ride because it should be a fantastic adventure. On this episode, we are headed down a remote desert canyon carved by the natural forces of erosion, and in which lie clues to an ancient human and geological history which can still be witnessed today. Toward the end of our hike, this dramatic and epic adventure will turn dangerous, a reminder of Mother Nature's awe-inspiring power. All right, good morning. Today we are venturing down this random wash, slogging through the cow-trodden mud. This is clearly an area that is used by ranchers to range their cattle, and there's been some swampiness, some muddiness, lots of rocks, but absolutely incredible cliff formations, and it's nice to be able to hike through the canyon here and have some shade. So this is kind of cool here. A spring that is emanating from this bluff. The water seeps out from the ground above and into these rocks and then out here where it opens up. So obviously if you got stuck out here, water would be a key, essential factor. And even though there's lots of water in the channel here, it is definitely not fit for human consumption, considering that cattle come through here and leave their cow pies and leave all sorts of bacteria. But that seep that we just looked at probably would be pretty safe to drink, as the water is percolating through those rocks, and it doesn't look like the cows are up top there, so probably far less bacteria. And if you had to have water, that would be the place to get it. Now, we have brought well over a gallon of water, so I think we're pretty safe for this 6 or 7 mile hike. So there are a lot of slabs of rock that look like this. You can see the ripples. I'm gonna guess, could be completely wrong, that this is a piece of an ancient sand dune that's been petrified. What I surmise happened there is that there were ancient sand dunes here. Maybe these are part of the ancient sand dunes, these cliff formations, and they were much lower, and a flood came with all sorts of mud, or maybe it was a volcanic ash or something, and buried the dunes. That ash or that mud solidified and wasn't then again touched for thousands or millions, hundreds of thousands, who knows, of years. And then eventually the cliffs and the area eroded, and now you have pieces like that breaking off, being exposed, and showing us the underlying geology of this fascinating area. Look up there, you can see it's a really cool looking hoodoo there, and over there a few hoodoos. This whole area, the theme really is erosion. That truly is what makes, I would argue, what makes Utah so gorgeous. You can just see all of the layers of geological time here. Really impressive, beautiful colors. So we are starting to get a little bit deeper into the canyon here, and it's far shadier, which is really nice because the weather is warming up just a bit. But the rock formations are becoming more and more impressive. So this is obviously some kind of boundary, ranching boundary. You can see here there's an old gate that's been thrown up to the side here. And over here you have a post with barbed wire, which has slung itself around this really interesting rock formation here with all these holes.
This area is native Paiute land, and if one looks closely enough, there are innumerable signs of their former habitation.
That looks like it would be a good wall for some petroglyphs. Let's go investigate. No petroglyphs here, even though some of these stains look like they could be. But we're going to keep our eyes out as we walk down the canyon to see if maybe there is other signs of ancient habitation. Over time, water flowing through this canyon has just washed away the layers of bedrock, and how it's still washing away. You can see the smoothness here. No vehicles sign. I can imagine people driving through here with their Jeeps. What a fun but difficult drive that might be. So another thing to look for when you're out here in the canyons of the Escalante, other than petroglyphs and other artifacts, are granaries. If you look at a cliff like this here, the bottom there before that hill oftentimes gets really eroded and forms kind of like an amphitheater almost. And the ancient peoples who lived here would create these storage stashes for grains, whether it was juniper berries or pinyon pine nuts. I don't think there is one up on this cliff here, but that is more or less the kind of structure you'd be looking for to see those granaries. They're really cool. They're made out of the natural materials, and they'd usually just have like one window. So we are down here by the river and have come across some pretty old looking petroglyphs. This would have been a natural spot to travel up and down with the perennial flow of water. Our petroglyphs are way up on that cliffside there. You can see there's like bighorn sheep ones, or maybe coyote. There's a anthropomorph up there. Some rake-like images. Maybe those represent water. And you can even see on this one right up there, where is it? That it's been, there's a very faded panel. And even way over on there, you can see there's some eroded petroglyphs. So you have a number of petroglyphs on this wall here. You see right here, there's like a bear claw or a foot. Up here is a much more modern one. And then you have some other ones here. This kind of like snake-like, river-like squiggle. There's a anthropomorph right there. That's clearly been pecked into the side. And then you have these bird footprints. And you can tell these are not recent petroglyphs because they have not been repatinated. You can see some other people have inconsiderately carved letters like this B here, which probably was within the past 15 or 20 years because it looks still pretty fresh. But when you compare that to like that bear claw there, which clearly has repatinated after being scratched out, it's clearly much older. Maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, hard to tell. But if you are coming out to a place like this, please respect the panels. This is not your opportunity to leave your mark. This is the home of the native peoples who lived here. who survived off this land. And these individuals, A, B, and T and B, and whoever they are, clearly are just visitors. And it really mars the experience for everyone. Those of us hiking, those of us sharing, anyone else who's going to come out here in the future. If you look way up this cliff here, you'll notice under that overhang are some really interesting looking birds' nests. This may not normally be what you think of as a river, but out here in canyon country, it qualifies. So we had a great hike through the canyon, and we have now made it to our lunch spot here on the river. Found some petroglyphs, but more importantly, we found this incredible ancient spot here. So we're not able to get up to that outcropping there, or that kind of cave, cliffside cave, but it does look like there is a very small granary. We walked over into that little canyon there, but that wall is extremely steep and would be very difficult to climb up for the average person, which would mean that it would be a great spot to store food away from invaders, critters, and of course, the elements. We also have this really interesting cave here. I wonder if people used it as some kind of ceremonial cave. Doesn't go in very far, even though there's clearly some kind of animal burrow in there. But being in such proximity to the petroglyphs, I wonder if this had some kind of sacred significance to it. We know that modern people have been in here as well. This is from 1987, JD. March 18th, 1987. Not sure what that says, but pretty cool feature nonetheless. Look at these strange erosional patterns. What do you think? Are these formed by the wind, by the rain, or by the water that has flowed down the creek? All right, we are headed back up canyon. The weather has warmed quite a bit, but there is a slight breeze which is making walking much more pleasant. It's a good thing to remember that if you leave early in the morning, the weather's obviously going to be much cooler, so you want to consider how hot it's going to get on your hike back up. So we are on our way out of the canyon, but we noticed a feature that I'm going to go check out. So it looks like my senses were right. These are more or less like pictographs, basically handprints. People would have put their hands maybe in mud or some kind of red paint and then put it on the wall here. This is very cool to see. Don't see this too often. So here's a good comparison to see how big these handprints are. The area here is clearly a very natural shelter, so what a great place to sleep, take cover. We are just about at the end of our hike. It's going to be about a 10-mile day, but as we look ahead of us here up canyon into the sky, we're starting to hear some thunder roaring and some ominous dark clouds heading our way. And our friend, the thunderstorm, appears to be gently, ever so gently, heading our way. We got some big thunder. The storm is right over us, and as we were walking up the creek bed right here, a bolt of lightning struck very, very, very close. Tell our audience what your husband Eric did when that bolt of lightning struck.
Went right down to the ground, dropped to the ground.
So that was completely instinctual. I got right on the ground as close as possible. It was so close. I have never hit the deck that fast. Wind is blowing. Very dusty. Woo! Oh shit! Oh my god! Caught that on video. Apparently that's what I do when I see lightning.
That was far away.
That was pretty far, but still, you never know how long those tentacles can stretch. The car's right there. Well, the other one was much closer. That was still pretty far away. Ugh.
Holy cow.
Okay, come on. Woo! Made it back. Back of the car. So we got back to the car without getting struck by lightning, so that's good. And we also avoided the torrential downpour that is currently happening. Right now we're gonna head down another road, look for a new camp spot, and hopefully avoid getting drenched by this storm. All right, we are pretty much going straight into dinner here. It's a beautiful sunset, as you can see behind me. And tonight's cuisine is pulled pork. Let's take a look at this concoction here. So we got pulled pork, pickles, avocado, that's a new one, and a little bit of barbecue sauce. And then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up in tin foil like that. Let it cook for a moment, get nice and hot, and then chow down.
Thanks for watching this episode of Artistic Off-Road. Please like, comment, and subscribe to join along on future adventures.